I wasn't going to do this. I decided it was unwise. I'd even gone to bed. So I'm down again. I put a post up. "40°C. And just how the debates had raged about when, or if it was even possible, for us, fringing a huge ocean, to ever see 40°C. And they said, no, it's never going to happen. Not a chance of it. Well, we've seen it. 40.3. And it's quite simple. Anyone that doesn't get it doesn't understand the whole notion of greenhouse effect. They don't understand that the more greenhouse gases that are there, the same amount of energy coming in means the temperature gets hotter and hotter. So, since we've been stuffing it up there, we've increased it by a third. So you can imagine somewhere in the 1850s, 1860s, people would swelter at 30 degrees. Ooh. Well, do the maths. What's a third of 30 degrees? Add that on top of 30 degrees. What do you get? Oh, look, 40 degrees. But it's not just as simple as that, and those are just stupid ballpark figures. There are other things involved. Since the 90s, we've been seeing, and there's a lovely lady, and I wish I could bring a name to mind. Julia. Anyway, she's looking at Arctic amplification and the effects on the jet stream, and the way that plays into stuck weather. High pressures stuck, low pressures stuck. What we've been seeing, once upon a time, the way things worked, the air masses we received would come at us at a 45-degree angle, not come down at us from a 45-degree angle. It's a little more immediate now. You get your northern plunges, 90 degrees, straight from the pole to us. And as we saw in July, we get our, what used to be Spanish plumes, we get our North African plumes. And they come straight up. All that ocean, that beautiful Atlantic Ocean that used to moderate our temperatures, that's no fucking good if it's coming straight up, as we saw. So we need to act. But then people say, oh, no, we can't. But those people are not telling you that Mother Nature has now decided to turn her back. She tried her best for all those decades, she tried her best. Nearly 50% of everything that we stuck up there, she reabsorbed, be it Amazon rainforest, be it southern oceans, be it wherever that carbon sink was. Well, the last drought in the Amazon saw the Amazon become a net contributor of CO2. And all of that meltwater flowing off Antarctica is basically blanketing the Southern Ocean, where it used to gobble up our bloody dirty CO2, and it's sealed it. So even if we started to take back and cut down our CO2, we've got to take into account the failure of the planet, the dying planet, to actually help us. We've pushed it too far, it's gone. We could cut 50% of our bloody emissions, and because of the loss of these sinks, we'd stand still. And do you think, looking at them, that they're going to look at cutting it by 50% now, when we need it? It ain't going to happen. They will not help. They have proven this. In reality, they have proven this since the late 1950s, when Big Oil first commissioned the report to look at what their dirty was causing. And the scientists in the late 50s told them, in no uncertain terms, because obviously we'd known since the end of the 1800s greenhouse gases and what it meant. First reports in the freaking Times, like 1910 or something like that, about the dangers of coal. And anyway, they've known since the late 50s, in no uncertain terms. And what did they do? They doubled output. They doubled searching. Now, if that doesn't tell you that they had, in the late 50s, come to a decision, decided how it would be. Now, this is the mentality of the late 1950s. These were people that were all gung-ho for mutually assured destruction. Yeah, these were the cowboys of old. And they've not wavered. They've not shifted. It's as if it's carved in stone, and that their kin down the line have just carried on. And they continue to carry on. You even get the Conservative Party today saying, oh no, we've got to look at fracking. Let's look at fracking. Fracking is mining without miners. Fracking is pumping your ground full of chemicals to dissolve. They say, oh, it's shale gas. It's shale gas. But you look where they're going. It's where the old coal seams are. And what they want to do is just melt out the coal and extract that without the miners. Because with the miners you get the NUM. And with the NUM, well, we all know. It so upsets me that so many people are walking blind into something that, with a few clicks on their computer, they could read the unbelievable. Because I've been recording my songs, I've been looking through my back catalogue, and it's just wound me up. It's just wound me up total. How many beggars do you think it takes before you realise they can't all be fakes? How many old folk must die of the cold before you'll decide that you're not being told? And how many cataracts and cancerous skins before you'll decide that the ozone's grown thin? You see, I sang that song because we'd started to do something about the ozone. But that was the whole over Antarctica. In the past year, we've discovered this feck-off one over the equator, bigger than anything that even sails over us in February. Because, make no mistake, because of the whacked-out climate, because of the whacked-out polar night jet, something that forms up in autumn. And it's supposed to be a tight little circle that keeps the cold in the Arctic. But as I mentioned earlier, these northern plunges tend to suggest that it now is a lot more wavy. But what that means is that come spring, if we've got a lobe of that sort of Arctic, if the night jet's pattern is close to us, then that rising spring sun hits the free oxygen and it has a chemical reaction, and we end up, as we did in February 2014. Of course you'll know all about it. A huge fuck-off ozone hole right above the UK. 6 or 7 days it maintained. So much to unpack, so little time. You can see why I had to come down. The bottom line is that it's up to us. It's not something that we can say, oh, it's somebody else's job. It's somebody else's. I hate that. Somebody else's job. It's our job. Everything's our job. The fucking tidiness of your own neighbourhood. You're not, the council can do. No, you. Because if there's one thing I know, if you're in a shit tip, you just forget it. You just forget it all. It's a shit tip. If you're in something nice, then you'll keep it nice. And if some arse messes it up, you'll get annoyed because it was nice. We can't have nice things. It's up to us. It's not up to the council to shift the leaves so some old deer doesn't break a hip on them. It's not up to council to clear the snow, if we get snow, so that some old deer doesn't smash a hip. It's up to us. We make the difference. We have to make the difference. Nobody else will. They've given over on it. They're busy making their plans, their bug-out plans. You go to Davos in bloody February, you sit in on one of their little symposiums, one of their little, some of the climate scientists that I was in conversation with in the in the noughties, said that they'd been invited. And they were pleased to be invited because they thought, well, these are people that can do something. This is where the money is. We can tell them how it is, what's happening. We can tell them the bang up to date science, bang up to date. And then they'll be well, no. All they wanted to know is, will our security guards kill us for our food? Can we? They're not interested. They have their bug out plan. You can Google it, you can find these communities. In America, they're bloody converting nuclear silos into bunkers. They're building pristine new village-size bunkers with everything. Cinemas, swimming pools. But don't be daft. They're not going to look after you because it involves them spending their wealth. Have you got lots of coin to throw into the problem? You got lots of money? Have you looked at what happened since 1979 insofar as the distribution of wealth? Have you looked at what happened? Because I can tell you, if you can't be asked, it's a straight line graph. The richest have got richer, whilst the poorest have gotten poorer. They are picking your pocket. They've robbed all your services and given them to their mates. And all that happens with those services is they don't spend money on it. They're not fixing the leaks. They're not upgrading the systems. They're just coining it so they can give it to the shareholders so they can pay their bosses top-notch bonuses. And then our government, predominantly Tory in that 40-year period, throws 100 million at them, dig them out of the hole they're in, i.e. our tax money. They give them to give to their shareholders, and you don't think you're being robbed? No, it's at that point. It's at that point, and we have to realise that we have to help ourselves. For God's sake, they've been helping themselves for the past 40 years. Isn't it time that we had ours? I was brought up, brothers and sisters, and one of the first things that was the hard lesson to learn, because, we want everything. But we taught how to share. Just to keep order for the parents so that they've not got a bloody scrap on their hands. But we're taught how to share. They're not sharing, are they? Far from it. 40.3 degrees C. 40.3. Unbelievable. Even I didn't believe we'd break 40. But then I was a fool, wasn't I? I'd forgotten about the basics. the greenhouse effect. And whilst we and ah, by this time next year, there'll be another 2 or 3 parts per million of CO2 up there. Never mind what methane is doing. And methane's tricksy. Over the first 10 years of its lifetime, it's up to 120 times more efficient at warming than carbon dioxide. 120 times. And yeah, then it starts to break down, yay, into carbon dioxide, which is then sat around for over 1,000 years. And the northern permafrosts are letting go. You can't see Siberian towns within the Arctic Circle hitting 100 degrees without thinking that permafrost might be a little bit warm. Yes, I know, I should be in bed. Well, at least it's only 1:45. Well, another quarter of an hour, eh? I just don't know how to open your eyes. You see that song, How Many Beggars Do You Think It Takes? The refrain. Now that I've thrown my bloody backy all over the floor. The refrain is, open up your eyes. Tell me, what do you see? Don't be so surprised if you see the same as me. Do you see what I mean? But that was written in the early 90s. And like I say, I retired it because we'd started looking like we were being good boys. Sorting out the ozone. And how many children do you need to murder so you can sit and eat your death burger? And how many toxins get fed to your meat? Oh, you know, it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating. What is it about me that I could see that then, and that my peers are just sort of blinking like they've woken up, like some marsupial? I think it's because it's easier just to look at your own. I had a family, I had kids, I didn't have time for all that. I didn't have time to save the world for my children that I'm using as an excuse for not doing anything. Unseat the lot. Wonderful lady, Amanda wonderful Amanda, actually bought the domain unseatthelot.com, and we're just waiting for help. We're just waiting for the people that can do this kind of shit to get on board and start to push this. And it's not just about unseating our politicians. It's every one of them in their ivory towers, right? Unseat the lot. Take it back, put it in the global pot, try our best to save our world for our children and our grandchildren. Right, I'm stopping. I'm just gonna stop. Good night, people.